PMS, pregnancy, menopause. Each stage of womanhood has its unique challenges. That's why Highlands Naturals' new women's multivitamins are formulated with essential daily nutrients, plus targeted support for your life stage. Facing PMS? There's a Highlands Multi for that. Navigating pregnancy and morning sickness? That too. In the throes of menopause, our formula is here to support you through hot flashes and skin changes. Gone are the days of juggling multiple supplements or guessing what you might need. With Highlands Naturals, it's one multivitamin with daily essential nutrients and science-backed ingredients to support you. An all-in-one wellness solution to lighten the load for women? Highlands Naturals is here for it. Find your multi at Amazon or Highlands.com. That's HYLANDS.com. Highlands Naturals. We're here for it.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to patreon.com/truecrimewives and get lots of great extras.
Good Wives Guide to True Crime. We discuss crimes that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, we're continuing our discussion about Jodi Arias and the murder of Travis Alexander. And we're going to pick up right where we left off on day 2 of Jodi being interrogated by Detective Esteban Flores. The case seems to be open and shut at this point, but it's about to take a few strange turns.
Hey folks, it's time to grab your glass of wine because Good Wives Fancy, Tori, Colleen, and Christina are about to serve up another true crime case.
When we left off, Jodi was being questioned by Detective Flores, and so far she was sticking with her story. She hadn't seen Travis in months, and she was on her way to Salt Lake City to see Ryan Burns when Travis was killed. But Detective Flores knew she was lying, and he wanted Jodi to open up to him and tell the truth, maybe for once, about what happened the day that Travis was murdered. But I don't think anyone anticipated what Jodi had up her sleeve.
This girl, let me tell you, and she changes her story like people change underwear, man. I mean, like, she is just, it is an incredible amount of just constantly changing and lying, and then lying about the lie, and then lying about the person she told the lie to. It's just bad.
I remember when I was a teenager, me and a friend of mine, we went to go hang out with these 2 boys, and we weren't supposed to, and we got caught. And once we got caught, I shut up immediately because I was like, okay, caught. She kept on. She gave like 6 different versions of where we were, which led them to trust in more lies. I stayed quiet the whole time. And she's like, why didn't you back me up? I'm like, because I knew we were screwed. That was it. We were done. Like, we're caught. Be quiet. Like, accept the consequences, and that's it. But apparently Jodi's never, thought of that because I can't. She just aggravates me so bad.
She just, well, like Kirk said, she's told that she blames him, and this was something I was reading the other day. She blamed him for coming up with the defense of Travis being a child molester and abusive, right? She blames him for that because she says he came up with that. He didn't come up with that. She came up with that. And then she goes back and like retracts that and says something else about how, it's just, I don't.
The absolute depth of all of her lies just blows my mind. That she can just come up with all of these lies, all these intricate details just on the fly. It's so crazy to me that she did that. And she did it without a blink of an eye. Like, you couldn't even see, watching the interrogation, you don't see a change in her at all when she changes stories. She's just like, oh yeah, well, about that, I'm going to change it this way.
Right.
And it was just, it's
as if she
amazing
never
to
said
look
anything
up.
before that. As if she'd never said anything
Right.
before that. Like, it just...
Well, like, to me,
doesn't miss a beat.
it's all these young women who are involved in these atrocity cases. You know, Casey Anthony, like, they can just lie on the spot, continue the lie. When they get caught, they just come up with another lie and continue with that lie. And they just can flip on the dime. And they are pretty convincing.
Well, I mean, we've seen this before. Look what we saw in the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case. That interrogation was incredibly crazy. Like, we all were sitting on this edge of our seats waiting for her to finally say something about her mom or nothing. No, it's first she was like, I didn't know. Oh my God, is something wrong with my mom? Oh my God, was it a heart attack? I should have never left her. Maybe she committed suicide. Oh, well, it was all Nick. Like, and it was on a dime that she just flipped that switch and went, oh, and then the next thing you know, she knows she's caught, and it's like, I want a lawyer. Oh, well, you knew you could have a lawyer the whole time then, but it didn't you? Because you just didn't think you needed one because you thought you were smart, you know? Yeah. And that's what this one is too. Like, Jodi, I feel like she just thought she was smarter than everybody. Like, she didn't even graduate high school, but she seems to think she's smarter than everybody.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
If you've been listening to our podcast for some time, then you've probably noticed that there's been some different changes going on. And that's because we've recently switched over to our new hosting platform using Buzzsprout. And we love it. It could not have been a smoother transition. Buzzsprout has made it super simple and gave us amazing features we weren't getting before. So if you've been thinking of hosting a podcast or you're looking for a new host, then we totally recommend giving Buzzsprout a try. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple, Spotify, Google, and even Pandora within minutes of finishing your recording. So join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And if you follow the link in the show notes, that lets Buzzsprout know we sent you. And it helps you get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. And it helps support our show.
So Detective Flores already had a lot of evidence, and the case against Jodi was already strong, but he still wanted her to confess. So he asked Jodi if she wanted to open up about what happened the day that Travis died. And this was the moment that you knew things were going to change. She replies in this soft, whispery voice, and she tells him that she wants to open up, but she doesn't think she's ready to, and that it's just so hard. But Flores continues to question her, and he asks her about her visiting Travis, and she actually answered him. So she finally admitted that she was at Travis's house the day that he was murdered. She said she arrived at Travis's house at around 3 o'clock in the morning, and they went to sleep and woke up in the afternoon to have sex.
It just blows my mind. Like, so it's one of those situations. Okay, well, I broke into his house in the middle of the night and climbed in through the window, and then I laid on his bed naked. When he then, he woke up, and then we did it.
That's through what the whole thing, she's acting as if Travis was expecting her, when Detective Flores knows that he wasn't expecting her. But she's acting as if like, oh well, Travis knew I was coming, and I arrived at this time, and then we went to sleep, and everything was fine.
So vindictive.
It is. And I truly 100% believe she went there with the intent to kill him. I don't think it was a spur of the moment thing. I don't think they had sex and then she snapped because he said, I'm still going to Cancun, get the fuck out of here. I don't think any of those things. I think she went there knowing she was going to kill him.
I don't know that. I think she knew he was moving on. That was it for him.
Right. What, Tori?
I'm not so sure that she went there expecting to kill him. I think she went there prepared to kill him. And I think there's a difference. I think if she'd been able to convince him that, yes, she's the one that he wanted and come back to me, she would not have killed him. But I do think he was prepared for it. I do think, she had a knife and a gun both.
Right.
I think she went prepared for, if I can't have him, nobody can, but if I can have him, I want him.
Right, so if he had said, yes, Jodi, I want to be with you, and I'm going to take you to Cancun with me, and we'll get married, and then she probably would have been like, okay, this gun and knife was just for protection. But
I don't think she would have killed him if he'd gone that direction. I think he was killed because he was smart enough to realize the crazy that was all that, and he didn't want anything to do with it.
Right, and I agree with you on that. That's what I meant. But I think that she went there with premeditation in her heart. That it was the worst case scenario situation, you know, where okay, like I'm gonna try and seduce him. I'm gonna go and plead with him and tell him how much and show him how much I love him and da 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 da. And then if that doesn't all work, well, screw it, I'm gonna kill him. You know.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and I guess there is a difference in that between just going to kill him or going with the intent of, well, if all else fails, I'm gonna take him out. You know,
that's an option.
Yeah. So Detective Flores asked Jodi what happened, what went wrong after they had sex, and he also asked if they were alone. And this is where Jodi begins her second version of the truth. So she told Flores that it was better for everyone to think they were alone, and he gently assured her this isn't the time, he gently assured her this isn't true, that she shouldn't protect anyone, and Jodi then says that she'll tell him everything that she knows or remembers. And at this point, Jodi has had several hours to think about everything, and she knew they had proof that she was at Travis's house, so her original story wasn't going to fly. So it was time to change directions and try something new. And she does. And what she begins to come up with is absurd. It's just, good Lord, is this absurd.
I mean, it's 100%. I will always compare this case to Casey Anthony because it happened around the same time. You know, Zanny the nanny, she took her. Oh, well, I was working at Universal. Oh, I don't really work at Universal.
Right.
Right. Oh, she, oh, my dad. Like, just change the story. When the first story didn't work, you change it and change it and change it again. And so, you know, Jodi starts something new. She now claims that while she was taking pictures of Travis in the shower, 2 intruders, one guy and one girl, came in and killed Travis. She claimed to hide in the closet and that the guy held a gun to her head at some point. Then she struggled with a female intruder who had a knife, and that's how she got the cuts on her fingers that Ryan Burns had mentioned. According to Jodi, the female wanted to kill her and the male didn't, and they argued amongst themselves about it.
Like, to come up with this story is just insane. To be able to sit and think of that detail. But I've always been the type of person who believes that when somebody starts giving all the details like that, like, oh, the female wanted to kill me, but the male didn't want to kill me. That's when you know they're lying. Because a simple story is the simple story, you know? It's not complicated. You don't need to know all that stuff because you wouldn't in a normal story. You just wouldn't know all that. You just wouldn't.
And that's one of the classic signs of lying is too much detail. You know, any investigator will tell you that.
Right. Well, what's that, the story, or not the story, the case that happened when the American killed the Italian, in Italy, and she was like arrested for a very long time. There was a trial. And
oh, yes. Oh, what is her name? Dang it. Oh, Colleen, I know
Amanda, are you talking about Amanda Knox?
Amanda Knox.
Yes. Like, I mean, and I'm not sure what I believe on that case, but it's very similar. Like,
I still don't either.
Like, a guy broke in. It was this guy, or it was that guy. So it reminds me of that in that way of, well, somebody broke in, and that's the excuse I'm going to give.
It's like she pulled from all different stories, like just like she had watched a bunch of true crime stories and was like, well, that's a good story. Let me try that one. Oh, wait, no, that's a good story. I'll try that one. Oh, Casey Anthony tried that one. Maybe I'll try that one. But it reminds me of just the boy who cries wolf, you know, like she gives so many different stories. By the time you're done with her, you don't believe anything she says. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I've talked about this a million times about what I told my kids about lying, you know, like, don't give me a crappy lie. Don't insult me with a crappy lie. If you're going to lie, make it good. And then, you know, if you're caught, you're caught. Like, just give it up at that point, because I'm never going to believe anything you say if you keep going.
Right.
You know?
My dad always told me that when I was lying, he'd be like, I know you're lying. Just tell me the truth. You'll be in less trouble if you tell me the truth than continuing to lie to me. You continue to lie, you will be in more trouble. And the same goes not just for parents, but for law enforcement.
Right.
Right. I tell my kids the same thing.
Right.
You know, I tell them, you know, I already know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you. What happened?
It's like, you know, when they talk about whenever a woman says, you know, first of all, well, it's the same kind of thing. If I come to you and I ask you about something, generally If
I know.
I already know. I know the answers. I'm just going to see whether you're going to give them to me or not. And that's exactly what he was doing here. So it gets more interesting. So because they aren't just random intruders anymore, Jodi claims that the male attacker told the female that they weren't there to kill Jodi, insinuating that it wasn't random. Travis was quote unquote targeted. And Jodi then claims the male attacker went through her wallet, pulled out a registration and said, "Oh, you must be that bitch from California." So now we have a targeted attack on Travis by these two people, and they even know who Jodi is. So the male goes on to tell Jodi that if she ever says anything about this, they would do the same thing to her and her family as they did to Travis. So then she says they let her go, and she got in her car and she drove to Salt Lake City, and she claims she was scared and freaked out, so she didn't call 911 or anyone else, but Flores called her out on her bullshit and told her it's the most far-fetched story he has ever heard. And then he reminds her again that she's being charged with first-degree murder.
Such an idiot.
I know we're dealing with something serious, and this is something that has to be difficult for them to deal with. Yeah. I don't know how he kept a straight face, because I would have bursted out laughing in her face. Like,
I would have too.
What do you think? I'm an idiot?
Yeah, I would have lost my shit. I literally would have lost it. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't become a cop, because I knew that I would not be able to deal with these situations like a normal person and just be like, okay, that's fine. You know, like when the investigator was talking to Gypsy, dude, I would have lost it way before that guy, lost it. I would have literally laid into her and I would have been at the point where she probably would have been crying. Within minutes, I would have been like, "Oh, you're freaking lying, and I know you're lying, so why don't you just stop fucking lying?" So Jodi was extradited to Arizona in September of 2008. She was arraigned on September 11th, and she pleads not guilty. On October 31st, 2008, the prosecution announced that they were seeking the death penalty on Halloween. Oh my God. And I'd say that's a pretty fitting day for a demon like Jodi. Like, seriously, like on Halloween.
I mean, the only other day that'd be more fitting would be a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Right. Only other day more fitting.
Right. Like, oh my goodness. I can't even.
In the last episode, we talked about Jodi asking if she could clean herself up before her mugshot was taken, because obviously the self-obsessed girl wants to know how her hair looks and then smiling for the camera. Well, once that mugshot was released, people were intrigued. As her usual behavior, Jodi seemed to enjoy the attention as she wanted to talk. A lot.
But like, how freaking self-absorbed and narcissistic are you to be like, oh, wait a minute, can I clean myself up and put some lipstick on and brush my hair before you take my mugshot?
Well, I mean, there are so many people who do that. And like, but there's also the people who absolutely do the opposite and don't give a damn what they look like in those mugshot pictures and look a hot mess of like garbage that's been baked out in the sun for weeks.
But it's not like she looked like hot mess. She was fine. She didn't look shitty. You saw her in the interrogation. She didn't look like the girl from hell. She didn't look like Crazy Eyes, my God. She just looked like a normal person with no makeup on.
Well, she just wanted to appear attractive so she would get more attention and that people would think she was innocent because she looks like an upstanding model citizen.
But that picture that she takes is creepy.
Yes, it is creepy. I 100% agree.
It's creepy. And you know what you can see? The smile is there and the eyes are dead. Like, seriously.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good description.
I mean, she does not have a soul. Like, you can see just how vacant she is. Like, you know what I mean? But so on September 12, 2008, a day after she pleads not guilty, she did an interview with the Arizona Republic. She denied that she murdered Travis, but she wouldn't discuss any of the evidence against her. And then she does an interview with Inside Edition 12 days later, where she made her infamous statement of, "No jury is going to convict me. I am innocent, and you can mark my words on that." Okay, Leticia Stout. Do you want an apology too? Do you want an apology too? So this was also when she first publicly told her tale of the two intruders, denied she ever shot a gun in her life, and she said she would never hurt Travis or anyone else. And Jodi was adamant that she was innocent.
Yeah, she wanted everyone at that point. She wanted everyone to hear that version of the story, and she told it as much as she could. Everybody had to hear about these two intruders who came into this home invasion and murdered Travis. And she said the evidence against her was compelling, but it wasn't proof of her guilt. And then we saw clips of her fixing her makeup and laughing and chatting with the people around her. And it really reminded me of like when a new movie comes out and the celebrity goes on like all the talk shows. And I really felt like it was like this press tour that I was watching of the clips of her. I'm like, whether innocent or guilty, I feel like if I was accused of what she was accused of.
CuriosityStream is the streaming service for people who want to know more. And now check out Curiosity's new series, The Real Wild West. Rolling Stone magazine says it's the history of the West they usually don't teach you.
The mythology of the West left out a lot of the people.
People said they'd never seen a black cowboy. This is the history book, but did you know about these other facts?
Watch The Real Wild West now on CuriosityStream. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.
When I was diagnosed with cancer, it felt like my whole world came tumbling down.
Patient Advocate Foundation is here for you, providing free one-on-one practical support to patients with a cancer diagnosis. Call us at 800-532-5274. Patient Advocate Foundation can assist in navigating disability benefits and health insurance options. PAF also helps in accessing vital services, medications, and financial resources for both medical and household expenses. Visit patientadvocate.org or call 800-532-5274.
I don't think I would be able to do it. Like, I wouldn't care about makeup. I wouldn't, just give me a camera so I can tell people what happened and that I'm innocent and ask for help in getting me out of here and finding the people that really did this. No, she's like powdering her nose and smiling. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with her?
Right. And the more you watch her, the more narcissistic she becomes. And it's like, you know, I think she doesn't even realize it. Like, it's just something that she's doing. It is an innate thing inside of her. Like, it's just reaction.
Yes.
Like
Pathological liar.
Yes. Well, not even just a pathological liar, but the fact that she's like doing the thing with the powder and everything. She has no idea that that is creating this narrative that people are not going to like her. Like that people are going, and she's doing this. She does shit like this during the trial too. So I'm sure the jury was like, what in the ever loving hell is wrong with this girl? Because she's just so bizarre. And it's like, it gets worse and worse. And it's, you know, it's one of those things like everybody wants to watch a train wreck. Like this was a train wreck unfolding on personal, you know, on TV across America. Like it was so, and it was a vibe, like kind of what we're seeing right now. So, you know, we've got these three big cases, you know, we've got the Vallow case, we've got, you know, Maggie Baugh as well. And we've got Leticia Stout. And of course now Epstein's out there too, but that's, you know, I mean, Maxine, you know, or Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell. But the three that were major was this time. It was like a vying for who is the craziest case or what is going to be the wackiest. Same thing with these two, like Jodi Arias and KNC Anthony are going on at the same time. And you're like, which one is a bigger whack job? Like, seriously?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, those two. I mean, it just from watching the news, like they dominated everything at that time.
Oh God, yeah.
Casey Anthony or Jodi Arias, and
to the point where I was
creepy smiles and
and weird stories and strange things, to the point where I was so sick of hearing about it. Like I was like, oh my God, can we just get off of this? Like, can we have something else, please? What's happening in, you know, the weather? Like I was more interested in the weather than this at that time because I was like, oh my God, I'm so sick of this. But in June 2009, an episode of 48 Hours aired, and this time Jodi adds a few more details. So she says the intruders were dressed in black and both wearing ski masks, and included that she and Travis were using the camera when the house invasion happened. It's like it's never ending.
No, there's just going to be continuous. But what you said, that, you know, the news dominating certain cases, it very much reminds me of the Chandra Levy case that happened in 2001. You know, she was killed in D.C. in a park. She was a staffer for a political person. But the issue was it happened, and then a few months later, 9/11 happened. And then everybody forgot about Chandra Levy because obviously the world is on fire and we're at war.
Right. Right.
But like that case, it still mattered to the family.
Yeah.
And community, and it's also in the same town that Scott Peterson case. That town is effing cursed, but that's a whole nother conversation. But it was as if Jodi believed that she could talk her way out of all of this in that soft voice. Everyone would believe that she was innocent and that this would all just go away. It really makes me wonder how many times through the years Jodi has used that same tactic to get out of other situations. And I mean, as a woman, we all have done something in that sense. You put on the charm.
You cry for the cop who pulls you over, Yeah, I understand. But
this is like a whole other level to say no jury will ever convict me. I'm innocent, mark my words, with so much confidence. It's like she knew, I'm going to walk away from this. They're going to believe me like they always do. And I'm just going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. And I really think at that point, she really did believe that. Like, I'm so good at this skill. Like I said in the last episode, weaponizing her sexuality. I think it was a skill that Jodi perfected from her teenage years. So we talk about, we don't think that she's so pretty, but it's funny, if you look at pictures of her from like junior high school, going into high school, she was gorgeous. And then, I don't know, like as she got older, to me, she wasn't as striking as people made her seem to be. But as a younger girl, she really was very pretty. So she was probably running circles around those boys in the junior high school and the high schools.
Right. And, it reminds me, again, it's so funny that we keep bringing this up because, we keep saying we're done with the case, but the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, like Gypsy can turn that high pitched voice on and that baby girl and all the time. But you know what? She has a deeper voice. She puts that on. You can tell when she's trying to cry. It's that same situation, that very manipulative, very cunning. We've said repeatedly that in the Gypsy case that Mike Stanfield, her attorney, was brilliant because him coming up with that Munchausen by proxy from the one document that he got that even remotely said it and running with that gave Gypsy the forum to totally soak that up and just get, I was abused and I don't even know anything and I don't know how old I am and and you know what? It's all bullshit. It's total bullshit. She knew all of it, and it's totally crap. And this is the same thing, but it's that same type of manipulation, that extreme, almost like it's just second nature. Like they don't even have a thought process about it. It just happens, and you don't even see them like we said earlier. You didn't even see her shift the gears between her lies.
Right. There was no breakdown. It's literally, a manipulation and pathological lying is innate in these people.
Yeah.
And they don't need to take a second to pause and figure it out. Their brain will just automatically move on to the next thing. Casey Anthony, hey guys. Hey, good to see you guys. My office is this way.
I don't work here.
Just insanity.
And the best with Casey Anthony was like when they asked her, like, why are you doing this? Don't you want to find your daughter? And she's like, well, I'm helping in a backwards sort of way. So
what the hell does that even mean?
But she said it was like without missing a beat. Like, you can't make it up. Like, you're caught in all these lies. Your kid is missing. And that's how I'm helping in a backwards sort of way.
Yeah, totally backwards. Well, could you enlighten us so that maybe we can get on the same page with you? Yeah, that'd be great. And imagine poor Kirk. He ends up, Kirk Nurmi, her defense attorney. He doesn't start with her from the very beginning. There's a defense attorney that got out of this, and I'd sure like to speak to that guy or girl of how they got out and what the freaking conflict was of interest is, because that person dodged a hell of a bullet. And
right, I feel bad for Kirk.
Right. No, I'd sure like to know what the hell it was that person dodged out on, because, man. So he gets her. Can you imagine having to defend this person who tells you a new story every effing day?
I mean, yeah.
It's just, I can't imagine it doing it. I mean, he had to do it. Obviously, it's his job. But it's like, how do you sift through and decide what defense you're going to go with when you know everything that the person has told you is total bullshit?
Yeah, that would be really hard.
Oh, it'd be hard. It'd be
one of those you're looking at it and you're like, oh shit.
I don't want to do this. I have to do this. I hate my job. I just have to get through the day so I can go home and drink a bottle of wine because that's how I deal with my job.
Right.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
This episode has been sponsored by the Oliphant Institute. The Good Wives have been actively taking criminal justice courses at Oliphant Institute. Our good friend Stephen David Lampley, who is one of our regular guests on our YouTube channel Murder by Design, is a 24-year retired SVU detective and the founder of the Institute. Stephen himself teaches each class, and they are no longer than an hour. They're super informative and very interesting, and you can't beat the price as each class only costs $20. If you're interested in learning more about serial killers, human decomposition, and many other criminal justice topics, but don't really care about a degree, then the Oliphant Institute is the right place for you. Head on over to oliphantinstitute.com. That's OLIPHANT Institute.com and get registered for a class today.
So Juan Martinez was the Maricopa County prosecutor on the case. And when he went over all the details and the evidence that they had, his determination was that Travis's murder was premeditated and he wanted Jodi to receive the death penalty. Now, Juan Martinez later wrote a book about the case called Conviction, the untold story of putting Jodi Arias behind bars. And Mr. Martinez was disbarred last month. Among other things, he was accused of leaking information to a blogger during the Jodi Arias murder trial and then lying to investigators about having a sexual relationship with that blogger. But that's a whole other episode.
I mean, that whole situation, like the fact that both of the lawyers on defense and prosecution get disbarred for this case, I've never seen that happen before.
I've never seen that happen. Literally never.
And, you know, the first defense attorney has a conflict of interest. Well, clearly the prosecuting attorney had a conflict of interest, you know, having a lover and giving them information about the case. Like, it's so
although in defense of Mr. Martinez, I don't know one way or the other if he leaked or he didn't leak. I wouldn't put it past Jodi to fucking leak all by herself.
Oh, true.
Blame it on Martinez, because I know the biggest part of his disbarring had to do with some sort of sexual misconduct, you know, harassment or whatever. So I don't know, but I mean, he was accused of it, but she could have done it.
True.
Well, and at that time, it was a big thing with bloggers getting involved in cases because there was a situation like that with the Casey Anthony trial. And it was the reason that the original judge on the Casey Anthony trial had to recuse himself because he went and had lunch with a blogger that was covering the case. And the defense threw a fit on that. Like, he had lunch with a blogger. How do we know what information was given? And that judge ended up recusing himself, and another judge had to come on because of that. So that was a big time for, like, the bloggers that were covering these cases. They were going to the courthouse, and you know, they were a lot of them were trying to get involved in the cases and talk to different people, and it led to a couple of different issues because I think at that time a lot of people didn't know how to deal with bloggers. It's like, you know, talk to them, or like, are they like the media? Do we not talk to them? So I think it was a lot of confusion at that time, and some bloggers got tied up in that.
Right, because it was the beginning of the blogger age. So so people didn't know what to do. You're right. But so the defense starts off with Jennifer Wilmot and Kirk Nurmi. They become the defense attorneys that have the bad luck of drawing like the short stick and getting Jodi Arias as a client in 2009. Kirk says it ends up on his desk, you know, and he's just like, okay, I just thought it was any other case. And then boy, did I find out it wasn't. So he's also been disbarred for very different reasons than what Martinez has been disbarred for. And when he took on the case, he knew she had been talking to the media and getting her story out there. And that's pretty much the opposite of what a defense attorney tells a client to do. This reminds me of like Nicholas Godejohn, where he can't shut up and he's telling all these stories. That boy sunk himself by going on freaking, you know, TV and talking. And I kind of feel like Jodi did too. If she had maybe stuck to one story, one really good story, she could have gotten off. You know what I'm really surprised? I'm really surprised it never came up that she blamed the roommates. Like I would have expected that. Like, and I think that one could have flown. I think that could have flown. I really think she could have blamed them and been like, well, and they got scared and they killed him and then I ran and I didn't know what to do. Like, I think that could have been easily, and the camera was there. I didn't take the pictures, seriously, and the bloody handprint on the wall was me running down, and that would have been a believable story.
Well, the body was there for 5 days, and they
didn't do anything.
Right. You could have easily pulled that, and maybe Kirk had tried to pose that to her, and maybe she couldn't, break from her original lie to tell that lie. But like, it definitely reminds me so much that like she just doesn't know when to shut her mouth. But with Nick, like Nick obviously is still going through appeals and crap, and then he goes on that Oxygen special and says, if I had to do it again, I would just do it differently. And it's like, you're an idiot. Where's your attorney, and how did they allow you to talk? Because
that's the same thing that happened right before the trial started. Him saying that, I had the angel on one side and the devil on the other, and I decided this bitch is dead. Dude, you just gave him premeditated murder. Literally handed it to them on a silver freaking platter and served it up to him. Here's your premeditation. Literally. Yep. So, but
Idiots.
Kirk knew that this story made absolutely no sense at all. And so they had a rough road ahead of them, and he needed to know all about Jodi and Travis's relationship to know how to handle this defense. And Jodi was very lighthearted and casual, too casual for someone accused of a heinous murder and facing the death penalty. And Kirk found her and her behavior to be very odd. You'll hear a lot more of Kirk Nurmi's experiences with Jodi and the trial in our bonus episode. He talks a lot about this, guys, and how strange she was, and that, she is who gave him ideas for the defense and then turned on him later. Like, it's crazy.
Well, I think the best quote from Kirk is, and when I read this, it just like puts everything from his point of view into perspective. Mm-hmm. He says, to fully get a visual of what Miss Arias did to my brain, you would have to find some fecal matter, throw it into the pan, add a chopped up dead rat, and scramble the whole mess up. Once completely cooked, this concoction would then approximate the effect that Miss Arias would have on my brain.
Oh my God, so, what a crazy...
Fecal matter, a chopped up dead rat, all mixed together, and you get what Jodi Arias can do to a person.
It's so crazy. But we love Kirk, and we love that he's come on and as a routine guest to talk about cases with us. Having the defense attorney side to talk about things when we usually talk from the investigator point and prosecutor's point has really allowed some depth into our episodes. So, absolutely. Kirk, if you're listening, thank you.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
That's so important. Because like I said, I think the defense attorneys, they get a really bad rap a lot of the time, and people are like, how do they sleep at night? And I can't respect these people. And once you hear his perspective of why he does his job, it changes everything. Yes. And everybody needs to listen to that interview because it definitely really makes a difference.
It really does. And okay, so I grew up with friends that have all gone into the law profession. My best friend's family, his sister, his brother, and him, and his husband are all lawyers. And so his brother is a DA. His sister does advertising law, and Enrique has worked for the mayor's office in LA. He's done copyright law. He was actually featured as one of the lawyers on the Case for 8. I think that's what it's called. It was the one about legal rights for gay people to get married. He was on that documentary. I really do think it's the Case for 8. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it's called. But so I grew up around them, and I've learned a lot from them talking and discussing things over the years. And so, I've always heard the prosecution side of things. And I always did think the same thing about defense attorneys. I was like, I just don't get it. I don't know how they do it. But then after, and I went into that, Colleen and I both talked about going into that interview and thinking he was going to be a smug bastard. Like, seriously, I really just thought he was going to be kind of a slimy jerk, you know? And
how are we going to deal with it?
I remember saying that to you after the interview, like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. I really thought he was going to be like a douche.
Yeah, and he was so
totally
different
not.
and he and like that girl said, he really does give a perspective on what it's like to be a defense attorney, and you really do learn they're just doing their job, you know, and they do the best that they can with what they have. And you know, he was arguing death penalty cases, and he was even telling us that when it comes across the table and it's a death penalty case, the only thing that you're really trying to do is save your client from being killed, you know, like,
yep.
It's not an issue once it's like that. It's usually not an issue of are they not guilty or are they guilty. It's more of, well, how do I not have my client put to death, you know? But again, so next, Jodi decides to change her story even more. So over the next several months, while discussing her case with her lawyers, Jodi began to allege some pretty horrible things about Travis. The wheels were spinning for Jodi, and she had lots of time to think by this point, and she began to paint a picture of Travis being a sexual deviant, using and abusing her, and she even alleges that Travis was a pedophile. So by the summer of 2020, Jodi's intruder story completely flips. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. By the summer of 2010, Jodi's intruder story completely flips. She admits to being there. She admits to killing Travis, but now she's claiming self-defense. And the day of his murder, while playing with Travis's new camera, Jodi dropped it according to her. Travis attacked her, and she had to kill him to save herself over a fucking camera.
And I mean, I hate when, you know, the criminals, and like I've said it before, especially in the Toolbox Killers, I hate when they like go out of their way to like just trash people for no stupid reason.
Yeah.
And like, you killed him, and then you have to make up all these lies about him being a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how dare you tarnish his, you know, reputation and try to put those allegations out there on him, like with Casey Anthony claiming her dad was molesting her. Like, how dare you? Like, God, I hate when people do that.
Yeah, just adding insult to injury.
Well, she clearly has no qualms about doing it because, you know, obviously her defense partially is that she was an abused child and her parents started beating her at 7 and blah, 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 blah. But then in her, you know, in her sentencing phase, where she's standing there and she's giving her speech, she's turning around and saying, please don't punish my family anymore. After saying that being put to death would be the most, you know, mercy that she could be shown, and she's really ready for it. And then she goes into court, turns it on a dime again, and is like, my poor family, they left me, and don't take me away from them. Oh, the same people that beat you since you were 7? You don't want us to take you away from them? Oh, I see. Okay.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
She just pisses me off. And now she's a self-proclaimed victim of ongoing physical and sexual abuse by Travis Alexander. And she even claimed to have letters from Travis to prove it. And she requested had the letters admitted into evidence. And I am not beyond thinking that this chick literally wrote these to her damn self. I'm sorry. I just, nothing she says makes any sense to me. I just feel like maybe this was in the back of her head all along, and she like laid it out, because I don't put anything past her at this point.
No, absolutely not.
And here's my take on that. Okay, so he abused you, yet when you moved out of state, you were so scared of him, you drove back to his state and his town to sneak into his house and lay in his bed, but you were scared of him because he was so abusive of you?
Right.
Really?
Usually if you run away from your abuser, you keep the hell away.
Right. And it was all self-defense because she dropped a camera. So having a gun and a knife right there with you were you expecting to drop the camera or?
Well, you know, Tori, it's because she was freaking scared of him. Don't you know?
Well, okay, great. And I get that. So she brought a knife or a gun or something, you know, to protect herself. Okay. So she drops the camera and then he attacks her and she runs away and gets a knife just to run back to him to stab him?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. That dog is not going to hunt. Like, seriously.
No, it's not. And I mean, that's just the beginning of her insanity.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine.
In December of 2012, just a few months after dropping her abuse bombshell, we can see Jodi was thriving in jail. What you just listened to was the clip of Jodi giving her debut performance of Oh Holy Night, which she had given us all a sneak peek of a few years before in the interrogation room. She won the jail singing contest, beating 50 other inmates, and her prize was a full Christmas stocking and a turkey dinner for Jodi and her cellmates. The only thing missing from the show was a handstand. And I'm surprised that it wasn't her grand finale. Okay, first of all, I disapprove of this whole contest in general. What the hell is this? Talent competition in the jail that you actually win something for?
They said it was like an American Idol style competition.
Wow!
And what's that sheriff? Is it Sheriff Joe? Sheriff Joe?
Yeah, Joe. I think it's
Arpeggio or something.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the one who put the contest on.
This disturbs me.
Wow, that does disturb me. I mean, I've heard of things like this. I mean, I get it. Okay, look, they're in jail for the rest of their lives or however many years, you know. I don't understand there's things for morale and stuff like that, because otherwise, if it's all gloom and doom, then the prisoners are going to be less, you know, they're going to be more angsty. They're going to be more likely to act out. Things are going to happen. But seriously, she's getting a Christmas dinner and a Christmas stocking. And oh, wow. So she gets to be the celebrity in jail that she wanted to be all the time, right?
Exactly.
It makes me so mad. But anyway, during the same time, jury members are being selected and Jodi's trial is getting ready to start. And you would think this would be Jodi's only focus. I mean, her life is literally on the line here, but Jodi had other important business to tend to while her murder trial was going on. She began selling her original artwork online, and it was supposedly to pay for legal expenses, but I think Jodi was enjoying her new fame. To this day, you can buy her drawings on her website, artbyjodiarias.com.
That's so messed up.
Who else does this sound like, though? This sounds like Gypsy Rose Blanchard again.
Like, to me, this reminds, like, so again, the whole morale thing. Like, if prisoners, a lot of them write books while they're in jail. Like, that's one thing. Like, I bought the Damien Eccles book from the West Memphis 3. I enjoy it. And his love story with his wife in jail. I love that book. But like to be like, I'm painting and you can buy my art so you can have my art in your home. The art of a murderer.
But it's like the most, I went and looked at the site and I swear it's like the most cliche artwork ever. It's like a close-up of an eyeball. And
well, have you seen Gypsy Rose Blanchard's art? It's pretty shitty.
And they have a lot in common, these two.
Yes, they do. It's like, oh, Nicholas, we're going to murder my mother, and then we're going to traipse off to Wisconsin, and I'll sell my art, and you'll do da-da-da-da-da. You know, like, oh, my God, gag me with a freaking spoon here, man. Like, oh.
100%.
Oh, I know this is a serious case. Like, this is very serious, but this is mind-boggling. Like exactly like Kirk described. Like, this is like just boggling my mind. I cannot for the life of me get a handle on the craziness of this freaking case. And then it's just exhausting. It's exhausting even thinking about it. I cannot imagine that poor man literally being, like he said, trapped in a room with her for all these months. Do you know that he actually asked the judge to let him out, and the judge told him no? Oh!
That's why he was disbarred.
Yes!
Because he wanted out. Don't keep a caged man in.
Right?
Imagine what a nightmare. Like it probably felt every morning when he woke up like just a nightmare that he couldn't wake up from, knowing that he had to go to work and deal with that and his case and all the talking she did. And I can't even imagine.
Well, when we talked with Mike Stanfield's assistant, Patty, she said the same thing about Gypsy. Like, it was so hard because they were dealing with her and like nothing was making sense. And they'd be like, we know you're lying. Would you please just tell us the truth so that we can defend you here? That'd be great. You know, and she'd be like, she's snitching people out in jail. And they're like, why are you doing that? Don't do that. Just keep your head down. Be quiet. Shut the hell up. You know, she's trying to get guards thrown out. She's doing all this crazy crap. And they're like, what are you doing? Please, we're trying to build a defense here. Could you help us out here? You know?
Can you please stop doing whatever you're doing?
Right. Just stop.
Well, when Jodi was first arrested and went to jail back in 2008, she became friends with this woman named Donovan Bering. And Donovan has always believed Jodi was innocent from the day she met her. And yeah, she supported her. She was in the courtroom throughout everything. And she started a Jodi Arias Updates Twitter account on behalf of Jodi. So throughout the whole murder trial, Jodi would call Donovan every day and basically dictate to her, this is what I want you to tweet today. And Jodi was taking swipes at the lawyers, like she was making commentary on what went on in court that day. She took swipes at HLN. There was a day that it looked like she was giving the middle finger to the cameraman, and Nancy Grace mentioned it on her show. And that next day, the tweet was, "No, Nancy, the finger was for you." Something like that. So she was like, she's using this Twitter account to just pretty much say whatever she wants, and while she's pretending in court to be this quiet, mousy little girl. And every day she's just going at everybody on Twitter. And that Twitter account is still active. It's private, but it has almost 60,000 followers today.
Can you say, Nicholas, go to John and Dawn bonkers?
Oh my God.
Like the prison phone calls that he got in trouble for, like, and him telling her, okay, today on Facebook, post this. And oh, by the way, my playlist for today is like, oh my God.
Yep, creepy, disturbing, all the above.
And the arrogance and the cockiness that Jodi seems to have kind of reminds me of Drew Peterson. Like, you know, he also loved that media spotlight and attention. And remember, he did the Win a Date with Drew Peterson
Yes,
contest?
that radio show.
Yes, while his wife Stacy was missing. Oh my God. I guess it has something to do with being a narcissist, but I just can't wrap my head around how somebody could do these horrible things and then turn it into some kind of celebrity status for themselves. It's like, you're not on, you know, The Bachelor, okay? Nobody is coming out of the woodworks to date you. Like, oh.
I mean, but some people do. Like, Nicholas Godejohn, you are not attractive. You're insane.
What is it about that guy?
Right, just people just are
just
drawn.
Women just wandering over to him. Just, oh, Nicholas is so sweet when he tells me that he wants to chop off my toes. You know, like seriously.
Oh my God! I almost spit out my soda.
He's just the kindest, sweetest guy. You just don't know him. Have you read the text messages and the emails, honey? Because I think I kind of do.
Right, I think I know him.
Didn't he like threaten to rape you in the letter? Well, he's just misunderstood. You have to understand. I provoked him.
Yeah.
Very angry that day, and you're like, what?
They say that.
And then they escape him, and then they still, like, you think, okay, we've got them out of this cult of Nicholas Godejohn, and then they go back, and they're like, oh my God, so the time that I was saying all those horrible things about you, it was totally not true, and somebody was making me say those horrible things about you. I know that I had the letters, and it proved everything I was saying was true, but it really wasn't true, and you just didn't understand why he said those things, and I just love you, Nicholas, will you please take me back? Oh God, barf me. You know, like, seriously.
Yes, that's it. It's 100% that. Like, I love you, Nicholas. Please forgive me.
Please forgive me for saying the truth about you.
Gag me with a spoon.
Exactly. Barf. Barf, barf, barf.
I don't have the dates or anything, but at one point, Donovan went on record as stating that she started to really see the craziness in Jodi and stop supporting her, stop being the one to post the Twitter, all the things to the Twitter account, and doesn't believe her, anything she says anymore. And so, I don't remember when she lost Donovan as a friend, but she definitely lost Donovan.
That's hilarious, because that's the exact same thing, that Bonkers pulled, and and then she ended up running back to him later. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, she turned on him. Oh, I see the real Gypsy and I see the real Nicholas, and they're just terrible. And, oh, it's just awful. Poor me. I don't know how I got sucked into it. I was abused. This is terrible. Oh, wait, I'm your friend again. Let me run back to you.
Yes.
Well, Donovan's not her friend anymore.
Thankfully.
Like, still. Now she's resorted to selling, oh, look, I have this letter, from in jail where Jodi.
Oh no, she didn't.
Yeah, I see this saying she had an accomplice.
Oh yeah, I did see that, but I didn't pay that much attention to it because that's just another story. But yes, now they're claiming there was an accomplice to the murder.
Yeah, she's saying that. I didn't even see this before. She's saying that Jodi confessed to her that she had an accomplice to help her kill Travis.
Oh my God.
And that she took a polygraph, but
I'm not sure she's desperate for the money that can come in from, selling the
letters
that Jodi seized on, or, all that kind of crap. But
well, Gypsy Rose Blanchard sold her freaking underpants. So,
Okay, so what it says here is that Travis wasn't the target, actually. It was supposed to be the girlfriend. And she said if the girlfriend was there, Travis would be alive today. So that's what she told Radar Online.
So I do remember seeing that.
So Jodi wanted to kill Mimi?
That's what she's saying, yeah.
Yes.
Then why not go to Mimi's house? Why go hoping to surprise?
Going out of town together, and so she just assumed they would be together.
So what? Her plan was, okay, I'm gonna kill her if she's at his house, but if she's not, then I'm gonna still sleep with him, and then if he still says that he's gonna go on vacation with the girl, I'll kill him then. Like, I just don't understand how that works. If she was there, I mean, obviously then Travis would be there, and then she'd have to kill them both. Travis would have probably killed Jodi in that process.
Right. Like, what was the concept of this? Like, I'm going to kill his girlfriend, and then I'm just going to stand there and be like, see how much I love you? I'm willing to kill her for you. No! Get the hell out of here!
It's such a dumb excuse.
It's exhausting.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. So you often hear and see us Good Wives sipping a glass of wine. And one of our favorite wine clubs is California Wine Club. California Wine Club only works with small wineries, and they hand select 2 bottles of wine each month and ship them straight to your door. Now, you don't even have to go to the liquor store to have a sip of bubbly with us. How cool is that?
We absolutely love hearing from our listeners, and we'd like to invite you to send us a question for us to answer or a case you'd like us to cover. You can drop us an email at goodwivesdish@gmail.com, and we might feature it in one of our next episodes and give you a shout out. Right now, we are also hosting our #LoveWins Scholarship Fund. If you're a college-age student who would like to enter, send us a 30-second video telling us about how you lead with love. Email your entry to us with a little bio about yourself and your educational goals. And if you'd like to learn more about our #LoveWins campaign for peace, merchandise, or donation details, go check out our informational video on youtube.com/murderbydesign. We look forward to hearing from you.
Everything about this case was intriguing, and people were coming from everywhere to be present for this trial. Beth Karras, who's a former prosecutor and legal analyst who covered the trial, has said that some even planned their vacations around the trial because they wanted to be there so badly. And I mean, this is pretty common. Like, there's like standing room only, and people wait in line to be in the courtroom, especially for big and long trials like this. It's like a
right. Like if they open up.
Backstage.
If they open up the courts for the Vallow case, man, I'm going to tell you what, there is going to be thousands of people that try to get in that courtroom every day. But there was a certain amount of seats in the courtroom that were available to the public, and the amount of people outside waiting to get in one of those seats was phenomenal. The crowd could easily have been confused for the audience at an outdoor concert. That's how huge it was. And so on January 2nd, 2013, Jodi's trial began, and at this time, she had been in jail for over 4 years.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. It is a long time, which is really funny because in the show that Tori and I are writing, originally we had a 4-year split time, like between the day that the person was arrested and the time they go to trial. And like everybody was like, that's too long. I'm like, no, it's not. Do you know how long these type of cases take to go to trial? It's not a too long of a jump in between, like, you know, because we just jumped. We didn't show that 4-year period. We just jumped from one to the other. And then people were like, oh no, it's too long. I'm like, okay, you guys are crazy. Do you know how long death penalty cases take? Like, seriously?
A long ass time.
A long ass time.
And right. I mean, we already know that even, you know, the appeals process, especially for death row cases, is forever. Scott Peterson just is even getting a hearing to see if he can get an appeal trial after being in jail for 10 years. So, right. Or 20 years, 18 years? I think it's 18 years. It's been a long ass time.
It's been a long time.
So, like, for death trial cases, it's a pretty big deal.
Right.
So you want to go?
The prosecution gave their opening statement first. During the opening statement, Juan Martinez told the jury that Travis was a good man and Jodi had slit his throat to thank him for that. He said that Jodi murdered Travis out of revenge. She got jealous when she found out that he was planning to go to Cancun with Mimi Hall, and she wanted to punish Travis. He focused on the brutal violence that Jodi had inflicted on Travis. And I think this was a really smart move on his part, was to focus more on that. Because, you know, she's got all these crazy stories and everything, but there's no denying the violence. Like, you know, and that's the thing. Like, I think that was a very smart move, and that, you know, because especially when she starts to attack his character, it's showing that her violence was still, you know, over the top.
Jodi was Travis's dirty little secret, and that's not that makes the murder okay, but it's kind of a double standard in that guys are allowed to have dirty little secrets, and that's all cool, and that's all good, and that's acceptable, but the girls are all to blame for anything that they do. You know, he was willing to have her be his dirty little secret and little, you know, get-togethers and act out his sexual fantasies, but she wasn't good enough to be his good little Mormon wife, you know, and that's not really fair.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
To her or to any woman, really. You know,
Right.
I mean, he's
Right.
her good little Mormon wife is going to expect that he has been a good little Mormon boy too, and obviously he wasn't.
Well, that's like all, the double standard, men who have a lot of girlfriends, a lot of prowess, they're studs,
right?
But women who have a lot of boyfriends or has hooked up a lot, she's a whore.
Right, she's a whore, she's a slut, she deserves to be, whatever.
Right, she's wearing a mini skirt, she deserves to be raped.
Right, it's not fair. Not that it makes it okay for her to turn around and murder him in any way.
Right.
But I mean, that double standard, I'm sure, didn't help her state of mind at all either.
Right.
No, absolutely not. Being a yo-yo for somebody is not fun for anybody, but it's not, like you said, it doesn't constitute murder though.
I think that's like with Betty Broderick. Like, I see people, she's a monster and she's this. And I'm like, but what about what he did to her? Like, what about her mental state because of what she went through? Like, she gave her whole entire life and her youth devoted to this man that she loved, that they were going to have this family and be successful because of all the sacrifices. And as soon as he got successful, it was like, oh, get rid of you and replace you with a new young chick. And what about her? Like, I get that. That's why I say with Travis, he may have been everything that we see in these videos. They may not have been true. He may have been living this double life, but it was like beyond brutal.
Yeah, like with Betty, like you said, though, that case, my God, he drove her insane.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, I truly believe that was a case. If there's ever been a case for insanity, I really believed that was a temporary insanity thing, because he drove her to that in everything that he did. And he, in every way, shape, or form, he tried to humiliate her, make her be lesser, turn her kids against her. I mean, it was a terrible case. And we actually are planning on going over that case in season 3. So you guys are going to want to come back in January when we come back and do season 3.
But I think Tori is 100% right. We see that double standard in so many cases. So many cases, absolutely. Jennifer Wilmot then gave the opening statement for the defense. She told the jury that although it seemed as if Travis and Jodi had been in a loving relationship, that wasn't reality. Reality was Jodi was Travis's dirty little secret. She pretty much blamed Travis for pushing the sexual relationship and using Jodi for his sexual fantasies while pretending to be a good Mormon man and searching for a good Mormon wife. And she said that Jodi dropped Travis's camera and Travis flew into this rage at Jodi, and it left Jodi no other choice but to kill him in self-defense. And this pisses me off. Like, look, Travis could have been the shittiest guy ever. Say he was this fraudulent, shitty guy who was pretending to be this great religious man, and it was all a front, and he really was a shitty guy. It doesn't matter. What she did to him is unjustifiable. We all know shitty people. If we went around murdering them, like, would it just be okay? Because, they were kind of shitty. Like, so it just aggravates me when people do that. Like, he's not here to defend himself, and you just go for the jugular in destroying this man's character in front of the people that love him, his family. Like, seeing his sisters in the gallery in the courtroom was heartbreaking.
Right, and the whole world. I mean, she's doing this in front of the whole world. And you're right. Like, what do? Go around killing every single one of your ex-boyfriends who was an asshole? Like, okay, but here's the thing I still bring back up again. You don't run away from your abuser and run to a whole nother state and then just be like, oh, well, I'm going to come sneak in your fucking window. No, you got away. Stay the F away.
Exactly.
Well, right. And no matter what anybody does, no one asks to be killed. And even, we all have our opinions on the death penalty and, what constitutes a death penalty case. But it is not up to an individual to take matters into their own hands and to punish somebody, especially when they don't know all the information, all the facts, what's happening. That's why, the criminal justice system exists and why courts exist, to punish people the right way. So there's all this information. Taking the law into your own hands does nothing. And then to say, well, he was abusing me, so I then went and killed him. Well, now we just have your story versus everybody else in his life, and we know you're crazy. And you're tarnishing now this guy's reputation.
And it's not like they lived in the house together, like alone, okay? It's not like it was just Travis's house and it's her word against his. No, there's 2 other people who live in this house. Don't you think that they would have heard or seen or anything if he was abusing you?
Right.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. So the prosecution begins calling their witnesses, and Mimi Hall takes the stand, and she testifies to her knowledge of Jodi stalking Travis. And I don't think she's the one that was threatened, but there was one girlfriend that she threatened and basically said, you better back off my guy, and the girl got so scared she dumped him. And Mimi, she did the same thing of like, she backed off of him as a romantic interest. She just wanted to be friends with him because she didn't want to have to deal with Jodi.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, right. Nobody wants to deal with a crazy ex.
No.
Just showing up all the time and just becoming a nonsense and out of control and interfering in relationships. And
I truly do believe that if there had been a time where she wanted to crawl into, the bed with them and Mimi happened to be there or whatever, that she would have absolutely snapped and killed her right there. I do. And I'm sure that went through their minds,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
This woman, she was definitely completely batshit.
I think Travis's friends and family had said that when Mimi told him, let's just be friends, it was like a blow to Travis, because they were saying that Travis was really thinking that Mimi might be the one for him.
The one, right.
And I wonder if that ever came into play in conversations with Jodi beforehand, like, look, before you would come here and I would still sleep with you and I would still see you, but you know what, I met someone that I really think is the one that I want to marry. You need to stop this shit now. And was that what set that whole thing in motion? Well, you know what, I'm going to give him one more shot. Either he's going to see things my way, or that, nobody's going to have him. Right. The interesting, this part coming up was like the most interesting part of the trial for me, and it was the medical examiner, Kevin Horn, when he took the stand and testified about the autopsy. He confirmed that Travis was stabbed 27 times all over the body. His throat was slit from ear to ear, and he had a gunshot wound above his right eyebrow. Now, keep in mind, Jodi claimed that she shot Travis in self-defense when he attacked her. However, she said that the gunshot didn't stop him. He kept struggling with her. And when he continued trying to attack her, that's when she stabbed him over and over and over again. But the medical examiner's testimony completely contradicted Jodi's story.
Well, and it's such overkill. Way overkill. Like, you stabbed him a bunch of times. Okay, he's dead. Okay, well, now I'm going to slit his throat just for good measure. And then, and I'm going to shoot him in the head. That's just one more time, one more way to make sure he's really, really dead this time.
Yeah, well, that order that she claims it happened in with shooting him first, that's really like that. This part really like seals that for me, what she says is just all lies. Because this medical examiner, who's very experienced, he testifies that Travis has defensive wounds on his hands, which are consistent with attempting to either block or grab the knife from Jodi while he was being attacked. And then he also testified that when Travis was shot in the head, because of the location of the gunshot wound, his brain would have been perforated. And that means that Travis would have been immediately incapacitated.
So he wouldn't have the defensive wounds, and he would have been down, and then she could just kill him with another gunshot or anything.
Yeah. So having those defensive wounds were really said something.
that he was, that he was very much fighting for his life while he was being stabbed, which would be impossible if he'd been shot in the head first. So Jodi was lying, and Martinez laid out the real order of events for the jury. And Jodi stabbed Travis 27 times, almost decapitated him, and then shot him in the head. Like, this is such violence. Like, I can't, from a woman, this is unusual, even for a woman when they kill. Okay, so even a woman who kills, generally women kill, and it's not messy. They don't stab like this. They generally, it's not what they do, because it's not, they generally kill clean. It's a cleaner kill. Men are generally a messier kill, and I think that this is just so indicative of how angry and mental she really was. And she just was going to make sure there was no way in hell anybody was going to want him, and I feel like she almost was trying to punish his family so that even when they get his remains back or whatever, they're not going to be able to have they're not going to have an open casket. It's going to be completely closed because nobody wants to be able to see that. I just feel like it was so rage and vindictive in how she did this. It just,
Right, like we've talked about it in many cases before. When a woman kills, it's typically very quick, or it is very like non-violent, so suffocating, poisoning, just really, because they want to be able to preserve kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So but they can have an open casket and be the mournful and
Right.
whatever. And men are the ones who there's usually some sexual assault, there's some violence.
Well, also it speaks to the fact that women are the people who generally have to clean things up, right? I mean, we're the cleaners and the homemakers. So you don't want a messy crime scene because you don't want to have to clean it. Like, and a man doesn't think that way. Man thinks, oh, well, my girl will clean it up, right? So when they do these things, they're generally messier. It's just the way the sexes are,
Yes.
But it's just, oh my God. So Martinez also called a Wairika police officer to the stand who testified about a burglary at Jodi's grandparents' home on May 28th, 2008. During this burglary, just a week before Travis's murder, a .25 caliber gun was stolen along with some other insignificant items. And Jodi's grandparents never got that gun back. And the gun that was used to shoot Travis was never found, but it was a .25 caliber. And so this goes back to me saying that I believe she had every intention of killing him that time because she planned this. I think it's I do think it's the same gun. I don't think it's coincidence.
Right. It's definitely the whole same thing of she was prepared to kill him. Maybe she didn't want, or maybe she thought she might not have to, but if it came to it, she was prepared to be able to do it, which is premeditated. So in the state of Arizona is death penalty case. After 9 days, Martinez rested his case and Kirk Nurmi began to present his case for the defense. Nurmi called Jodi's ex-boyfriend, Daryl Brewer, to the stand. Daryl said Jodi was loving and caring, but irresponsible. He also testified that Jodi had a close relationship with his son, so trying to portray her as this caring, loving, mother-like figure and, warm-hearted. Maybe she's irresponsible. She's young, but she's a great, great girl.
When Martinez cross-examined Daryl, he brought to light some pretty damning evidence that Travis's murder was premeditated. Because on June 3rd, 2008, which is right before she left on her trip, she went to see Daryl Brewer and Jodi picked up 2 gas cans from him. So what Juan Martinez believed immediately was that Jodi filled the gas cans ahead of time so that she'd be able to get into Arizona, kill Travis, and then get out of Arizona without ever having to stop for gas anywhere in Arizona. And she wouldn't be on any kind of surveillance cameras or anything. There would be no record of her being in Arizona. So Martinez said that Jodi knew before her trip began that she was going to murder Travis.
Right.
And I mean, I agree completely that everything points to she knew that was her other alternative. If things didn't go her way, she was going to kill him.
Right. So she couldn't get him to relent to her seduction, then death for him,
Which, just think about how crazy that is. Like, okay, so if he would have said, you know what, Jodi, you're right. I think we are made for each other. Let's give this a shot. Let's get married. Like, do you now go the rest of your life knowing like, wow, if he didn't propose to me that day, I was going to murder his ass? Like,
right. And when do you actually snap? At what point do you actually still snap? Because you're still going to do it. It's going to happen when he looks at a girl, or, you know, he says hello to the nurse while you're giving birth to his child. You know, I mean, whatever it is, she's going to snap at some point in time, right? You know, the defense began somewhat of a character assassination on Travis. They called Lisa Andrews to the stand to testify about her experience dating Travis. And Lisa testifies that Travis could be sexually aggressive and that he talked about sex a lot. So, okay, normal guy. And she had sent him an email complaining about some of these things. Whoop-de-tap-tap and frickin' do. She said they had stopped dating because she found out that Travis was cheating on her with Jodi. Okay, but that still doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. Like, none of that even, why would you, So Martinez cross-examines her, and he asked her some very uncomfortable questions about Travis having an erection while he was kissing her. And he got her to admit that at the time she thought that Travis could and should control his erection. But she now realized that his body was responding to the situation, and she may have been unfair in how she originally judged him for it.
Oh, good.
She was really young and naive, and you know, she didn't really know much about sex. So at the time, she felt as if it was him being offensive and he shouldn't have had that erection. But now that she's a little bit older and more mature, she understands that it was the kissing, you know, that his body was responding to, and he wasn't trying to be like this perverted guy with her or anything.
This is stupid.
Oh my God, ridiculous.
Stupid.
Yeah. Well, then Martinez went for the shock factor after that, and he showed a picture of Travis almost decapitated, and the courtroom went crazy. Travis's sister ran out, her brother ran after her, and it took a little while for Judge Sherry Stevens to regain order in the court. And I can't even imagine.
I can't either.
Yeah,
that's hard. That's probably the worst part in a trial, is when they decide they are going to show, you know, graphic photos like that. Mm-hmm. And it's always like a hit or miss. Sometimes they're not going to. Sometimes it's too bad. Sometimes, you know, when it's child abuse, they'll show some injuries, but not all.
But I think Martinez was really trying to make that point. Like, okay, so you're up here testifying that he talked about sex a lot and it made you uncomfortable that he was sexually aggressive. Okay, so do you think that this should have been done to him because of that? Like, is that what you... So I really think like the shock factor was to make the jury say like, well, wait a minute, all right, it really doesn't matter. Like Fancy said, like, big deal. So what? Okay, so he talked about sex like most young guys, you know.
Right there, guys.
Right.
This is what happened to him.
Right. Well, and I think it even goes a step further than that to try to disparage her self-defense account. Okay, so you shoot him because you're in self-defense. He continues to fight you, so you stab him. Okay, that's fine. But why did you slit his throat? Like, literally, you had to slit his throat and almost decapitate him. That's not self-defense, friends. That's freaking rage. Yeah. You know, and so the big question becomes at this time, is Jodi going to testify? So there was lots of speculation, but nobody knew for sure until February 4th, 2013, when Jodi Arias was called to the witness stand.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. Every great podcast needs a great website. Currently, our mother company, Mad Ginger Entertainment, is building their website using Bluehost. Bluehost is one of the best and most affordable web hosting platforms available. Plans start as low as $2.95 a month, and you can even integrate it with WordPress. So if you need your own website or affordable web hosting, grab our discount link in the description and get your podcast a bigger presence online at low costs.
Stay with us as we make our way through the trial of Jodi Arias. She was charged with first-degree murder in the death of Travis Alexander. She's facing the death penalty, and she's about to take the stand in her own defense. Be sure to come back to listen to next week's episode, where we'll jump right into Jodi's 18-day testimony.
Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives.
Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get the full recipe shared tonight, inside documents and pictures from the case, bonus mini podcast episodes, live YouTube discussion, and an exclusive invitation to our discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merch.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check us out on YouTube at Murder by Design, where we're currently talking about a few different true crime cases, from bullying murders to serial killers. We dish it all.
Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's Golo.com. Again, Golo.com.